So my story is kind of lengthy, and I always think about what scripture I can kind of look at. And one of my favorites is Daniel 3 with Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, because that's kind of how I felt my life kind of has been, is just a bunch of different fires. And I realize now as an adult that, God has always been with me. So a lot of y'all know some of my stories, some of y'all don't. But anyway, my real mother was murdered when I was 2.5 years old, and it turned into a 20-year-old case. And because of that, I grew up kind of going from home to home, a family who took care of me. I was helping my dad do that. And so, but I kind of grew up having a lot of anger and bitterness and frustration and abandonment issues because I didn't know where my mother was. So I think that God started really speaking to me. I started feeling the love of God when I was about 5 years old. I started going to a church. I would get up by myself and get dressed and go wait outside at the end of the driveway for the bus to come and pick me up. And I thought that was so cool that we got on the bus and we sang The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round, or This Little Light of Mine, and all these fun songs. And but there was a man who ran the bus ministry, and his name was Jesse Patton. And he just loved ministry, and he loved witnessing to people. And so on Saturdays, he would take us out, and we would go door to door and invite children to church and talk to their parents and that kind of thing. And I started seeing sometimes when we would go, people would get saved and how excited that they were, for Jesus and their salvation and things like that. And so I grew up in this church from the time I was 5 till I was 23. And it was a Baptist church, and they had Awanas there, so I grew up memorizing scriptures and, things like that. And but I was saved when I was 12 years old through the Awana program there. And I don't think that I really gave my life to Christ at that time, like fully surrendered. Like I gave my heart to him, but fully surrendered where I just gave everything to him. That didn't happen then because I kind of took a spiral. And my family still dealing with the loss of my mother because, like I said, it was a 20-year-old case. There was a lot going on with that. He was coming up for execution time, and there was a lot of anger that, was coming out in me. And when you go from having something like that happen, you hate one person for so long. And I thought I just wanted him to die, and thought that, him being in jail was, the place that he needed to be. But in this meantime, I also got married when I was 19 and was married for 21 years and was not the best marriage. And there was a lot of bitterness and anger there too. A lot of stuff that was not what I thought I should go through. I would question God all the time, why me? But anyway, I left that marriage and then got remarried. And when I got remarried, my husband at the time was not saved, but he made the comment, you tell me about this God, and he says, you say that he says that we have to ask him for forgiveness, and he forgives us, but we're supposed to forgive other people too. And he's like, so, why can't you forgive this man? And I'm like, you don't know what he did to me. You don't know what he took from us, and all this stuff, because, the only thing I had was a box that had pictures of my mother, and that was it. I don't remember her voice. I don't remember her holding me. I don't remember anything. And so the reason why I bring up the Daniel chapter 3 is because we're never alone. And it wasn't until this time in my life that I realized, looking back over everything, that God was always there with me. My mom was, I was her first child, so I was always with her, and I would have been with her that day had my uncle not taken me. So I don't know, what could have happened, but anyway, then the next thing, with the different trials in my life, God was always there with me. And looking back at it, I can see it now. I can see where He's had me and where He's taken me all through it. But so when it came up time for the execution, and my husband asked me that, I went to Scott and we started praying because I wanted to release that, and I knew that how can I come to God and ask God for forgiveness if I can't forgive this man? And so it took a little bit of time, but I do believe I've forgiven him. And since then he was executed, and now I work for TDCJ. And I see things in a different way. I see that, people deserve the chance for second chances and, things like that. I see that, God is a loving God. And if we don't fully give ourselves to Him, sometimes I think about times that I say, oh, well, I don't see Jesus during this time, but am I seeking Him? Am I really giving Him my whole at that time? Am I really listening? Am I really searching for Him, or am I just focused on the things that are going on in my life? And I think all these different little things, and there's so much in my life that I could talk about, but I think about those times. Those times have just made me stronger. Those times have just made me realize, that God has a plan and a purpose for me on this time that I'm here on earth. And as a child, being 5 years old, I loved seeing people get saved and know Jesus, even though I didn't fully know or have a relationship with Christ. But in 2006, I almost died. I got a heart infection. And that's when I started surrendering fully. Because you kind of go, okay, God, you can have this part and this part, but you can't have this part because I'm not over that yet, or I'm still dealing with this. And a lot of the part that I wouldn't give up was my attitude, because I still had the anger and the bitterness that went along with that. And so fully surrendering, that's when I finally realized that, okay, God's calling me into ministry. God's calling me to walk along with other people who have hurts and hang-ups and unforgiveness, and help them to forgive and to let go, because that's what set me free, was accepting Christ and accepting the fact that He died for me. And why He loves me so much, I don't know. But anyway, so my whole thing is that realizing that my past didn't define me. It doesn't define any of us. And God can still use us no matter what has happened in our past. And my overall way of looking at things now is just that I feel like God has allowed me to go through all these things to strengthen me, to be able to do, like I said, go out and be able to share. But the coolest thing is to be able to feel, or to be able to forgive, to be able to forgive and then come back a 360, to work now in the prison systems and going into ministering to them and seeing people for kind of like how I feel like God sees us. Yeah, we made a mistake, but we're still loved, we're still worthy, we're still enough to continue on and do it. So I think it's really cool. So my whole testimony, I think, has been a life of forgiveness. But that's okay, because I'll take that, a heart of forgiveness. So that's just a piece of me. There's a lot more, but I'm glad I got to share it with y'all today. Thank you.